All right. I would like to start our learning session this afternoon with a prayer. So kindly put yourselves in God's presence as I will be leading you into our prayer. Okay? So for the Catholics, give me a sign of the cross. Father God, we come to your presence in the name of Jesus with the power of the Holy Spirit. We thank you, Father God, for this new learning opportunity that we're all gathered this afternoon. Thank you, Father God, for the lessons that we are going to partake as we go on with our discussion for understanding the self. Thank you for keeping us always safe amidst these challenging times together with our family. This we all pray in the almighty name of Jesus. Amen. So, once again, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Okay.
Hello.
Actually, class, I am turning on my camera. I don't know why can't I open it? Maybe because of connectivity, but as much as possible, I really want I want you to see me so that it would have a better understanding. But I will try to if ever mo out ko klase mo balik ko, dili mo you are still there or maputol ba?
Gyapon mi diri, sir.
Na,
Ako,
sir.
ako ang meeting
Basta
host.
mag-libra ka, sir. Oh,
Ha?
dili ni may end all ang pag-leave.
Sige, sige. Okay, gusto na ko on akong camera.
Yes, sir.
But anyhow, I will just do it later na lang, ha? Kaya para dili ta mag-waste of time. So, since it's already 1:11 1:11 in my watch. So, right now, I hope the presenters are ready for the presentation this afternoon, okay? Are they around? Apa sila? I'm looking at my list.
Na, sir.
Okay, I'm looking at my list. We are 12, right? Our section 12.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
CA 12. Okay, I'm right. So we are going to have the presenters for today is sociology, right? Sociology and anthro. Tama ba ko? For your section?
I think, sir.
Okay. Okay, we will start with the sociology group. Aba sila? Silang Ryan, Landy? Are they around?
Ay, good afternoon, sir. Kanang last week man gid mi nga reporter, sir. Tapos ana ka kay i-send namo sa Google Classroom ang among
Okay, okay. That's
kuan.
good. Oo, dili na mo mag-report because nakasend naman mo og presentation that will be shared in the Google Classwork, okay?
Yes,
Sociology yung
sir.
topic, Landy ba? Ako
Yes,
ibutang
sir.
share of classwork. Pila to ka group duha to, Wendy? Landy?
Yes, sir.
Antro?
Sila
Antro.
Yes, sir. Silang medalya og kami, sir, nga group.
Medal, unsay family name? Philosophy group. Ba?
Oh, yes, sir. Sila, sir.
So for today, we are going to have a live presentation for the anthropology group. Are they around? Nga ba sila?
Na, sir.
Okay. We will go to anthropology. Okay. Kato par dili na ta magbalik. Just go on with the Google Classroom. While they are discussing class, ako na lang i-share. Ako tanawon ng classwork. Okay? You may now start for the anthropology group, sharing the screen and have the presentation for the anthropological perspective of the self. Okay?
Ay, wait lang.
You may now start. Okay. Very good.
anthropology. Good day, everyone. For this class session, we'll be tackling about the self from the perspective of anthropology. I am Maria Cristina Sibar, and together with my group mates Monique Aberin and Hannah Grace Abrenica, we will tackle the widely acceptable definition of self in modern anthropology. First off, according to Joseph E. Leduc, indeed much of the self is learned by making new memories out of old ones. We learn about ourselves through experiencing different things in life. Thus, we apply this learning in our present time and make new memories in the process. The self and the person in contemporary anthropology. What is anthropology and what is its view about the concept of self? The term anthropology comes from the Greek word anthropos, which means man or human, and logos, which means the study of. Anthropology is the study of what makes us human. Anthropologists take a broad approach to understanding the many different aspects of the human experience, which we call holism. They consider the past through archaeology to see how human groups lived hundreds or thousands of years ago and what was important to them. In a general sense, anthropology is concerned with understanding how humans evolved and how they differ from one another. An example of different behavior that we have before and is slowly fading in the present time is how we dress, how we talk, and how we treat each other. From wearing very conservative clothing to short shorts and low cut tops. From talking only in English or any Filipino dialects to talking in different newly created language like Peki language, etc. Kids before cannot talk back to their parents or someone older than them. But things have changed and this behavior is slowly fading. Anthropology is a very dynamic field, and anthropological literature offers several different definitions of self. Now let us find out the widely acceptable definitions of self in modern anthropology.
Now, let us talk about a unit but unitary. So, a unit but unitary is one definition of self in modern anthropology, characterizes the term in its most general, ordinary, and everyday use. Anthropologist and Professor Catherine Ewing of 1990 described the self as encompassing the physical organism, possessing psychological functioning and social attributes. This definition portrays the self as implicity and explicity, existing in the mind comprised of psychological, biological, and cultural processes. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux of 2002 conceptualized the implicit and explicit aspects of the self. Kemp 2012. The aspect of the self that you are consciously aware of is the explicit self, while the one that is not immediately available to the consciousness is the implicit aspect. This concept can be traced to the famous psychologist Sigmund Freud's level of consciousness. However, Ledoux's view on how the self was developed asserted that it is framed, maintained, and affected biologically, mentally, and socially. According to Ledoux of 2002, the self is not static. It is added to and subtracted from by genetic maturation, learning, forgetting, stress, aging, and disease. This is true of both the implicit and explicit aspects of the self.
Self as representation. Catherine Ewing, 1989, asserted that the self is illusory. By the word illusory, based on illusion, or in a simpler term, not real. According to Ewing, 1989, people construct a series of self-representations that are based on selected cultural concepts of person and selected chains of personal memories. Each self-concept is experienced as a whole and continuous, with its own history and memories that emerge in a specific context to be replaced by another self-representations when the context changes. By self-representation, Ewing meant culturally shaped self concepts that one applies to oneself. We represent what we see in our society. People study about the society, its culture, beliefs, and tradition by which we apply to ourselves. We select those culture and memories to be applied. It is the mental entities that are supposed to represent the self. According to Ewing 1990, people from all cultures have been observed to be able to rapidly project different self-representations, depending on the context of the situation. The person is unaware of these shifts. However, she will still experience wholeness and continuity despite these shifts. Our culture shapes the way we work and play, and it makes a difference in how we view ourselves and others. It affects our values, what we consider right and wrong. This is how the society we live in influences our choices. Filipinos are known to be hospitable because it is one of our culture to be warm to others, especially to our family. We are known to be a family-oriented country. That is why we rarely send our elders to the home for the aged, not only because we can't pay, but because we dearly love our family members and that we have a special bond with them.
The self embedded in culture. How individuals see themselves, how they relate to other people, and how they relate to the environment are deeply defined by culture. If one finds the view that the self is a product of society, then it is possible that the ways of how the self is developed are bound to cultural differences as well. Cultural anthropologists have argued that the self is culturally shaped and infinitely variable. Cultural traditions and social practices regulate, express, and transform the human psyche, resulting less in psychic unity for humankind than in ethnic divergences in mind, self, and emotion, by Schroeder 1991. The basic idea is that the principles of how the mind works cannot be conceived of as universal, but that it is as varied as the culture and traditions that people practice all over the world. Cultural psychologists distinguish two ways of how the self is constructed. These are the independent and interdependent constructs. The independent construct is characteristic of individualistic culture, such as in North America and Europe. Individualistic culture represents the self as separate, distinct, with emphasis on internal attributes or traits, skills, and values. The interdependent construct is typical of the collectivist culture in East Asia, stressing the essential connection between the individual to other people. These self-construals are also embedded in culture. Construal is an interpretation of the meaning of something, hence, in this sense, the meaning of self. Developmental psychologist Catherine Ruff, 2010, believed that culture can influence how you view relationships, personality traits, achievement, and expressing emotions. Relationships. Culture influences how you enter into and maintain relationships. For example, relationships may be seen as voluntary or as duty-based. In Western societies, it is essential for a person to choose whom to marry, while some Eastern societies still practice arranged marriage. Personality traits. Culture influences whether and how you value traits, like humility, self-esteem, politeness, assertiveness, and so on, as well as how you perceive hardship or how you feel about relying on others.
So the next one is achievement. Culture influences how you define success and whether you value certain types of achievements. For example, individual or group achievements.
Expressing emotions. By affecting how individuals express their emotions, culture also influences how people experience them as well. Example, in the United States, it is acceptable to express negative emotions like fear, anger, and disgust, both alone and in the presence of others, while Japanese individuals only do so while alone, according to Matsumoto 1990. In our culture, boys are expected to be tough and fearless, They shouldn't be crying publicly because Filipinos see it as a sign of being gay. Girls, on the other hand, shouldn't be screaming in public or laugh loudly, for elders see it as an inappropriate behavior of a Filipino woman. That is the end of our discussion. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Hannah, for your group. I'm very happy that your discussion for the anthropological perspective was able to tackle the important and salient points for the anthropological part. Okay, please, did you upload already it in our oral presentation in our classwork? You recorded presentation, Hannah. Hannah. Are
Sir?
you still around? Did you upload already your learning materials, the recorded and the PowerPoint?
Not yet po.
Sige. You may upload it after our class, or if you have time for today, you may upload it so that I could share it to everyone, so that we could use it as our reference to study, especially if during the coming exams. Okay, Hannah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you
I'll send
upload
it to you later po after class.
Okay, just send it in the classwork under oral presentation. Okay, classwork. Dito na to ipasa na itong including the recorded video and the PowerPoint. Okay, PowerPoint class.
Excuse me, sir. Kami tanan member mag-submit ato, sir.
Isa lang. Pero ang the rest class will do the same para sa itong mga activities. For example, kung natin activities na by group, please kanang isa lang ka member ang mag-upload, but the rest will tell me, for example, mag-private comment siya dito sa kilid bitaw sa right side. For example, sa grupo si Hannah o si Monique, Hannah, Monique, Hannah Abrenica, Monique Bayotas, like that, para ma-identify na ko diretsyo na ako, banday sila. Para pag-grado na ako, pagpunta na ako sa class record, it will be easier. Okay ra?
Yes,
Is it
sir.
okay? Isa lang mo upload ha, para dili na ma-stress ang uban. Pero ang uban, katong wala nag-upload, mag-i-click din yung turn in and comment. Please do not forget to click turn in. Okay? Dili na ako ma-click ang return class kung dili ko nung ma-click o turn in. Balag wala yung file ninyo i-upload. I-comment lang din ko ninyo sa kilid na for itong mga name sa inyong, or pwede na family name will do sa inyong group members. Kung dili kayo mo familiar sa each other, family name na lang nila. Basta kabalo mo kayo sa inyong ka-group. Okay? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, for today, I think we are going to cater to duha ba? Is the psychology group around?
Yes, sir. Nakay question, sir.
Yes.
Needed ba gyud na mag-record me for our live po na report, sir? Or pwede ra katong PPT presentation po?
Oh, you can like what I have said, I think I've said this during the orientation. It's fine for me na you will do the live or recorded. Wala problem. Okay ra gyud. Nag-live
sige,
mo, Joby?
More siya combination, sir, since isa sa mong kauban di siya sir,
Okay, sige.
for some
Pero
other
kana
things.
yung PowerPoint pag recorded, please upload it ha sa oral presentation kay once mag-grade ko, ako magong tanawon ng content and how you did your presentation. Okay?
Okay po, sir. Thank
Okay.
you.
Sige. We will just have 2 for today. Don't worry.
Mag-start na, Mr. ang psychology po.
Oh, yes. Start na ka. Taas-taas ra bang psychology, Joby, right?
Yes po, sir. Taas-taas siya.
I know, na-memorize na nako ang mga topics. Taas ang psychology. And during the sexual self na group, I think isa lang siguro ka-presenter sa cater during that time. Taas kayo ang sexual self na group. Take note. Taas yung topic sa sexual self.
Yes, sir. Taas.
Taas kayo. Muna ka na time doon, don't worry. Pwede ra po ninyo para dili ko ma-stress class ka ng aside sa sexual self. I-record na lang ninyo daan. Then we will just play during our synchronous. Para
Okay,
dili
sir.
na kayo stressful. Okay, thank you, Martin. Okay, Joby, you may now start. It's already 1:30, but thank you.
Hello guys. So makadungog ba mo static noise because it's raining heavily. Kusog kayong ulan here. Or okay ra? Clear ba akong
Okay ra,
voice
Job.
guys?
Okay
Joby,
ra.
ulan diri.
Okay,
Unang diri si
kalar.
So forgive me if ever mawala akong connection kay ano ni siya
Oo.
sa hingog and also my akong router gakawala gyud ang connection if ever ulan. So yeah, anyways,
Dili ka na mo
mag-present.
ma-forgive.
Anyways, I hope ready na akong makauban. Let's start na ko. We're now in Google. Let's go now to YouTube. So, hey guys, this is Joe Baby, and welcome to our another Understanding the Self vlog. We will talk about the psychological perspective of the self, and through our UTS series, we learned a lot from the different philosophers, sociology, anthropology, and now to psychology. This is chapter 5, unit 1, the self from various perspectives. So we have a major vlog collab. I collaborated with Lord Baconga and Monique Bayota. So yeah, this is a grand collab y'all waiting for. Before we'll continue to our vlog, let us introduce ourselves first. I will now click here. I'll be the first one. So, The Self as a Cognitive Construction by William James. So, you can call me Joe Baby. Hometown, Hilog City. Dream ambition to be a successful civil engineer, structural architect. I'm an INTJ, NFP personality. Yeah, my relationship status kay modo siya. Kung di ma-engineer, mag-minyo na lang og engineer. That's my motto. Next. Since Lord isn't around, I will just ano na lang for Monique Bayotas. Bibi Monique, are you still there?
So, hello guys. There's something wrong with my camera. Please bear with me. I apologize. Um, Good day, everyone. I'm Monique Grace A. Beotas. Just call me Monica, and I'm from Cagayan de Oro City. And my dream or ambition is to be a successful CEO of real estate company. And especially, I am confident and beautiful with a heart. And my relationship status is I am already taken with Joshua James Salosha. And I believe the saying that nag-engineer ko kay sayonara mangupya. Charet. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Bibi Monique Grace Bayotas. Well, that's incredible introduction of yourself. So let's go back to the homepage of YouTube. Anyways, let's go now to our main video. I'll be the first one to tackle The Self as a Cognitive Construction by William James. It's loading now. So this is it. Let's now continue to our next slide. Next page. Psychological perspective of the self. For our objectives at the end of the lessons, y'all are expected to be able to 1. Identify the different ideas in psychology about the self. 2. Reflect and create your own definition of the self based on the definitions from psychology. 3. Analyze the effects of various factors identified in psychology in the formation of the self. So let's start our fabulous discussion with this statement. I am who I am. Kind of objective, right? It's an objective statement, of course. I am who I am. Ako kay ako. I think this statement is so familiar. I don't know with y'all, but does this statement, sorry, ganito lang ako, pangit, di guwapo, ganito sarili ko, ring a bell? Anyways, let's go back to the topic. This statement begs the question, begs the question, if you are who you are, then who are you that makes who you are? Well, this is getting a bit complicated and interesting. In Bisaya, kung ikaw kay ikaw, paano mo nasabi? Like, how are you able to come up with that conclusion na you are you? If you are you, then which part of your behavior, trait, personality, attributes that makes you the complete you, right? So what makes who you are? So, and then at this point, the concept of self will enter. Actually, the definition of the self changes. It varies time to time. It's different from different philosophical perspective, trains of thought, sociological perspective, and now our topic, psychological perspective. Here, the statement by Gianni and Tari, 2014, self is the sense of personal identity and of who we are as individuals. I hope Delisha disturbo because it's really very hard here. So let's now talk about psychology. According to the book, psychology is the study of mental processes and human behavior. It explains why people act and behave the way they do. The mind processes several inputs and translates into their behavior. So the word psychology comes from the Latin, which means the study of the soul. The definition has evolved over the years, and today we can safely say the science of behavior and mental processes. In truth, psychology is one of the most widely diverse sciences in terms of the questions, the method it applies, and the different schools of thought and disciplines. It's like a big, all integrated melting pot. Behavior, on the other hand, is the observed actions and processes of an individual, such as bodily reactions, either individually or as a whole. And there are two categories, guys. So these are covert and overt. Covert are internal and invisible, such as having feelings, thoughts, bale. It's not kanang murag dili ma-mind read bitaw nato. Overt, on the other hand, are behaviors that are observed, such as the matter of talking, walking, or acting of a person. Behavior is the way in which people behaves, of course, in response to a particular situation or stimulus. And covert and overt are quite understandable, so the definitions are quite objective. So psychology enables one to achieve emotional balance, be better at social interactions, and have greater personality efficiency. It can also help one decide and respond properly to life problems. Thus, the goal of psychology is for an individual to achieve wholeness and be a well-integrated person. So, from my subject when I was senior high school, it's like sa PERDEV, it's like to attain self-actualization. In my opinion, this subject, it's like a win-win situation for me. Although I have a hard time understanding the different school of thoughts, terms, and of course people, philosophers, when I was senior high school student in our personal development subject, it gave me a whole lot of perspective. It made me understand why I'm this type of person, why I'm acting this way, why I had a hard time socializing, talking, and such. Why I'm depending my validation on others, on stuff that don't really matter. It made me open my eyes and understand more. It's like a stepping stone to self-love and self-discovery, and it's one of the most important things for us to achieve as humans. So I guess, and I hope na, although it's kind of difficult, even for me, it's kind of difficult why am I studying this, and the terms are quite overwhelming. It's a win-win situation for us students to achieve uh, our goals in life, because self-love, self-discovery, self-actualization. Anyways, let's go now to it naglag. Okay. Let's go now to William James, Psychology of the Self. William James, known as the father of American psychology. He was a philosopher, psychologist, and a trained physician, and the first one to offer a psychology course in the US. So William's concept is this: in order to achieve wholeness and become a well-integrated individual, one must start with the basics of understanding the self. The psychology of the self refers to the analysis of the cognitive, cognitive, and affective aspects of an individual's identity. Diba? As what I said, the terms are quite difficult for us to understand, but these are stepping stones for self-actualization. He's also, anyways, let's go back to the topic. He's also the one who categorized the components of the self, which he divided into two categories: me and I. Just kind of show guys, me self and I self. These two sides of the self. Before we'll tackle the components of the self, let's first discuss the self as a cognitive construction. So the self, it plays an integral part in all aspects of engagement of an individual. For example, like in subjects of motivation, cognition, affect, and social identity. If we're talking about cognitive construction, a person can ground the experience of self in a neural processes which with cognitive consequences. This means that the experiences of the self can be analyzed in a mental processing unit, and this can lead to an output, effect, or decision. I will just elaborate what I'm talking later. So it's just like an introduction of the term. So, on the other hand, the concept of stream of consciousness, it is an experience of flowing thoughts and consciousness and is considered personal because all related experiences that go with these processes are unique to the person concerned. Of course, we have different experiences as an individual, and this also makes up partly of ourselves. That is why the personal self is an important entity with the varied information of psychology and its significance. This should not be questioned by anyone, nor interpreted less of their worth in psychology because, again, it differs, guys. So, as what they said, don't let them question you, maybe in some aspects, but don't let them question you as yourself. Don't let them see you less because you are you. You're different from them. You are unique. So this makes us unique individuals because of our different thoughts, experiences, which flows through our consciousness. The Principles of Psychology by William James. There's, should we all like to ask him? Okay. Yes, sir. I will send some. I think I posted it na sa Google Classroom, sir. Or
Okay,
online.
okay. Thank you, Dolby. You may continue.
Okay, let's go back to the Principles of Psychology by William James. A mind is an object in the world of other objects. Its relation to those other objects must be surveyed. So, what does he mean about this? He highlighted the uncertainty of psychology, writing that everyone's perceptions and thoughts are contextualized by experience. So, a person certain like pabago-bago ito eh. Previous thought, patterns, memories, and etc. So he argued that the thought depends on the person thinking it. That is why the stream of consciousness differs from person to person. That is why we are unique because we have different experiences, memories, feelings, thoughts as a unique individual. So that is why don't let others define you. That is why you should just love yourself because you're you. You're different. So, other concepts of the self according to William James. Going back to the components of self, we consider that there are two categories: the I self and the me self. So, basically, the word I and the word me. Self as the knower, pure or transcendental I, and the self as known, objective or empirical me. So, murag siya same lang ang thought, like it's just me, it's just I. But in philosophy, in understanding the self, let's just venture more about these words. The self. So before we'll talk about the two categories, let's have a review about the term self. The self is the sum total of a person's experience, emotional, physical, energies, and intellectual capacity. This again differs from person to person and is not only limited to our personality, behavior, and attributes. It also includes what an individual has, like clothes, house, status, and etc. It also includes the past of his or her ancestors, so including the past, including the present. So why appeal man ang material things? Actually, um, based on my observation, based on my opinion, not yun ni siya affect ang material things status sa atong self. And I think ma-observe nato na, like, for example, if ever sa akong situation, if ever I'm wearing some mahal bitaw na clothes, so I feel confident. So I guess that is why it includes clothes, status, social status, your academic status, sa whole self. In connection to what an individual has, James partnered with James Lang theory of emotion, stating that the mind perceives physiological conditions triggered by stimulus or a source. As emotion is processed in the mind, the self is founded on emotion. The possessions of what an individual has triggers an emotional response, is what I said earlier. And this is a part of the self or their characteristics. So, like, mo wear kag Louis Vuitton or Gucci, of course, you feel confident. Like, guys, I have this clothes, so it affects your emotional response. Well, it differs from person to person. If ever thrifted, well, if you feel confidence of thrifted clothes, so why not? That's why wear anything, not wear anything based so nagbilat siya. So wear clothes that makes you feel good because ga reflect bitaw on how you socialize, how you act, how you behave. Because if you wear something that makes you feel good, of course you'll feel good about yourself and you will feel confident. Now let's talk about the three categories of the self. Now venturing out of the topic. My goodness. I self is subjective self that is aware of its own actions. So meaning you are describing yourself using your own perspective. I am Joby Basadas, I am BSC, something like that. It's like you're the one who's defining yourself. And here are the features of the I self. First, a sense of being agent or initiator of behavior. For example, we're given a choice to wear for the family dinner. And in the concept of I self, the thought, I want to wear crop tops because I feel good. I want to wear dress. I want to wear this skinny jeans. We are the one responsible of our behavior. It's our in our choices. It's in our wants. Second, a sense of being unique. Example thoughts as like you're kind of comparing yourself to her. Actually, it's kind of unhealthy, toxic sometimes sa akong opinion because you're comparing yourself. Where in fact you're different. You're a different person. Pero anyways, example Ranisha guys. Unlike her, I like Call of Duty. Unlike her, I play mobile games. Unlike her, I play ML. Unlike her, I like doing makeup. Unlike him, I like sweets. So parang ganun, and that way we are unique. Like, we're siya comparing thought, but murag ano lang point out kay different sa ilaha. We have our own likes and dislikes. Third, a sense of continuity. We have the ability to remember the experiences of our past that connects to our present. So maybe sad boy ka or sad girl ka, like awat sa ako because you have traumas in relationship, mo na siya, sad boy ka, like ayoko na in the relationship kasi masasaktan ako at maiwan ako, something like that. So we have the example when I was a child, I was taught by my mother to be mature and responsible in every choices I took. And this inspired me to grow up as a person now and now I am capable of being responsible and mature in my choices as a student. Yeah, as a 20-year-old young adult woman. So fourth, a sense of awareness. Our self is capable of what we think, actions, and what's happening in our surrounding that affects ourselves. And that's it for the I self perspective. I hope you got it. That's it. Sir, what about I will send the outline because lang kayo ni akong PPT. What do you call this? Pinaka-brief or something, sir? Mag-send na lang kong outline sa imo ha where akong explanation na dire.
Okay.
Next, let's talk about me self. Me self is a self that is an object or the self that you can describe. Of course, these are the material possessions, physical appearance, and other stuff that a person owns. Ni siya katong kaganina what I said. Example, they think of me as a rich kid. They think of me as gold, sana all gold. They think of me as a fabulous person. They think of me I'm broke, ugly, beautiful, so on and so forth. So material self refers to the things that an individual owns. So anyways, according to James, the me self was divided into four: material self, social self, spiritual self, and ego. Material self refers to the things that an individual owns. Of course, these are the material possessions, physical appearance, and other stuffs that a person owns. Example, they think of me as a rich kid. So because I have the Louis Vuitton, because I have Calvin Klein, something like that. while the social self refers to an individual in a particular social situation. When we say social, of course, social interaction, socialization is more on the social skills, social aspect, your interaction to others. For example, they think of me as approachable because I'm a social butterfly. So, or they think of me as a good person. They think of me as a confident person. They think of me as a loner, introverted person. Parang ganon. It's not the social aspect. Spiritual self, on the other hand, refers to an individual at the core of their being. This is the personality, character, and defining values, principles. This is the authentic self. I'm so sorry. Authentic self, the unconditional part, and the you without patterns. So this is personal to each of us. Of course, marag na dili ang religion, spiritual. It's personal. It's in you. Dili walay kalabutan uban. Ang ego naman, on the other hand, refers to the I aspect of an individual. Of course, these are the thoughts like I am fabulous, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am that, yeah, egoistic as it may sound. This is also the, ano bitaw, guys, it helps in boosting our confidence level. Like you're going to affirm self-affirmation bitaw, like I am beautiful, I'm accepted. Parang ganun is like the I aspect of an individual sa ego. Now we are now aware of the differences of the two perspectives and how it is helpful to ourselves. Let's talk about the importance of the self, or let's just say ourselves. Importance of the self. It is useful to spend time understanding yourself, including your capabilities, expertise, and personal values. Being self-aware can help you to plan development and make career decisions that are right for you. Again, like what I said, knowing yourself is such a win-win situation in a general perspective. Because if you know yourself more, no one will define you, and you will love yourself more. Work on your flaws like that. You feel good about yourself. You will accept yourself. You will love yourself. A friendly reminder to you all, we need to value ourselves because in the end, we only have ourselves. And that's it for my vlog for today. I hope you guys enjoyed watching and listening. Since this is a collab vlog, Lord will be the next person to take the stage. Joe, baby out. I'll just hit this and done. Magpadayon, sir, or 1 to 3 p.m. Ano, sir?
Juby,
Yes.
do you have a material? Don't worry, your materials, I will share it in the class. Okay, don't worry about it. I
Yes,
understand that the psychology topic is very, very long. Okay, we will just have, you are already halfway, right? Halfway na ba ka?
Yes, sir. Halfway na siya. Si Lord and si Miss Monique na lang ang din. Pero
Okay,
for
Joby,
taas.
pwede na po, Joby, na we can record it sa tungkulang. Kira ba?
Miss Monique, baby Monique.
Katong wala pa naka-report. Ikaw pa naka-report, right?
Yes po. Actually, si Lloyd, recorded siya.
Nakita na ko ang iyahan na recorded na. I can share that to our class. But
Yes.
for Monique,
Now si Monique, I guess here, she decided to live as si
Live,
Miss
sige.
Monique.
don't worry, we will just continue.
We will just
next,
continue today or next
Ah.
meeting na po.
I think we only have 5 minutes more. Kasi pili makaya ba?
Murag makaya kay Lloyd. I-cut na lang dahil nato, sir.
Sige. We will just utilize. Sige, continue sa tanong. Pamatay 5 minutes. Don't worry.
Sige, sir. Maato sa ako. We will just...
Pwede pa mata mag-extend, Joby. We can continue. We can extend up to 1:15.
Sige, sir.
Wala problem. Mag-adjust na lang kung sa ako next class. My class is 2 o'clock, but don't worry. Wala naman ako class after, so pwede rin mag-adjust.
4 minutes lang kay Lloyd, sir. So, I guess
Okay,
makaya,
sige.
sir.
Go.
Thank you. Mag-present na po ako.
Okay, the psychological perspective is very important. While you are preparing, Joby, allow me to tell something to the class. The psychological perspective of the self is very important because the topic, before understanding the self, there was general psychology. Wala pa understanding the self class. General psychology gid ang mga ang subject na gi-introduce namo sa first year college. But during the new curriculum, during the implementation of the K-12, it was changed into a more similar subject which we called understanding the self. So it's part na lang siya sa subject na understanding the self and psychological perspective. That is why UTS is very broad because we tackle about philosophy, sociology, psychology, but it's more of the psychological perspective because later on, dagan kita mga ma-discover sa topic na understanding the self, like taking care of oneself, conflict management. But allow me to give the time to the presenters. Dili na ko sila gusto i-preempt. Gamay na latong time. So, continue, Joby. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am Led Vincent P. Baconga. Oh, and the
May I ask if malunggan ba sa matunggan ba?
Yes, it's very clear.
session, I will be reporting about ideal self and real self, and global versus differentiated models. Ideal self and real self is one of the works of Rogers. For those who don't know Rogers, Carl Rogers was an American psychologist and among the founders of humanistic approach in psychology. And we have two categories, the ideal self and real self. The ideal self is the person that you would like to be or how you want to be. It is an ideal image of self that individuals have developed based on what you've learned and experienced. This includes notion influenced by your parents, what you admire in others, what the society sees as acceptable, what you think is in your best interest. And for the real self is the person you actually are. It is how you behave right at the moment of situation. And we have the importance of alignment between ideal self and real self. Rogers focused on the idea that we need to achieve consistency between these two selves. According to Roger, if the way that I want is aligned with the way that I want to be, then I will feel a sense of mental well-being or peace of mind. In other words, when your real self and ideal self are very similar, you experience congruence, or simply your self-concept is accurate. High congruence leads to a greater sense of self-worth and healthy, productive life. And when there is a great inconsistency between ideal self and actual self, we experience a state Rogers called incongruence, which can lead to maladjustments. Move on to global versus differentiated models. Global self refers to overall appraisal of one's worth or value as a person. And for differentiated self refers to the ability to separate one's feelings and thoughts from others. And we have 10 differentiated models of self, which are self-consciousness, self as multiple, self as looking glass, self as structure, self as flower, self as self-creative, self as onion, self as identity, self as unicorn, self as chameleon. Self-consciousness is a heightened sense of awareness of oneself. Self as multiple, as a person who has many different social selves. Self as looking glass is a process wherein individuals base their sense of self on how they believe others view them. Self as structure is the self which can be an object to itself. It's essentially a social structure and it arises in social experience and self-knowledge is organized. Self as flower. The self in this view is like a flower, potentially growing into full bloom. Self as self-creative. Man is nothing else but what he makes in himself. Self as onion. This model is indicated by the phrase hidden depths and reflects the notion that one may not really know someone. Self as identity. Our self concept is our identity. Self as unicorn. It's partly unknown, even unknowable, because it is so below consciousness and in progress. Lastly is self as chameleon. It is multiple, mutable, adaptable, and selective in presentation.
Timing, sir, na alas dos na, sir. So that's it for this report. He's quite busy today, so he decided to record again.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, you may continue, Monique, no problem.
Ay, dali ra. Gamay raman to, sir.
Wait lang po, ha.
I already asked permission from my next class na mag-extend pa. Okay la sila.
Yes, sir. Maybe Monique, you may start. Since this is collab video, thank you so much, Lord, for presenting and for sharing your fabulous report. Next will be our gorgeous Monique Grace Bayota. So take the stage, baby Monique.
Okay. Hello. A pleasant afternoon to all of you. I hope you're doing great. Mm, and so do I. So I'll be the one to discuss about multiple versus unified selves, and um, true self versus false selves. And the last one is the self as proactive and agentic. Agentic. So the first is multiple selves. So the capacities we carry within us from multiple relationships. So these are not discovered but created in our relationships with other people. And multiple selves varies across different interpersonal and intrapersonal rules and relationships. The attitude and characteristics we show depends on who you are or we are, yes, who are the people we are interacting with. And having multiple personality or self makes it hard for a person to achieve and show a unified self. So, in short, multiple selves is a spectrum, which means it is not limited to a specific set of characteristics, thus, it varies. So, there are some reasons. Next. Hello? Hello? There are some reasons why we have multiple selves. So the first one is afraid of judgment of others, environment we are living in. Next is to adapt to the culture of the people around us. And the last one is to fit into a certain group of friends. Next. So let's move on to unified self. So unified self is the personality that stays within us. The self we usually only show to people we trust and whenever we are alone. Well being comes when our personality dynamics are congruent, cohesive, and consistent. So it is important for a person to have a consistent and coherent self that they show to others, especially to people that are really close to them. In my understanding, multiple self is a hindrance for the unified self because it's said that the self must be consistent, coherent, and unified. And so, to um, again, unified self. For you to understand about unified self, it also refers to the self that includes all of the other personalities that exist within a person's interactional manner. Next. So let's move on to true versus false selves. So true self may be termed as the actual self Oftentimes, we don't give attention to our lacking parts. That's why we don't realize they are a part of our true selves. And also, it has a sense of integrity, of connected wholeness that harks to the early stage. It is innate good, moral, transcends situation and circumstances, and culturally stable. It is governed by a moral code, which means that is unchanging and the moral compass of the self. So, false self. Next. Ay, wala na next, di ay? Oh, yeah. Next. So the false self. So the false self may also be termed as the ideal self. So we have this image of who we want to be as a person, and sometimes this triggers us to portray the images inside our heads. And also the function of the false self is to hide and protect the true self. Ay, kabalo ko nga makarelate mo ani. Next, it refers to the rules we pretend balik sa. It refers to the roles we pretend to play or the appearance and behavior yet does we take yet does not reflect how we really are. So the false self exists so as to protect and hide our true selves to strangers, to people we just met, and to people we want to please. So for first meetings, we don't usually show our real and true selves. We do this to impress the people we just met or to give them a good impression about ourselves. Next. Next slide. So why we don't usually show our true selves? So the first one is to save ourselves from the judgments of others, to protect ourselves from rejection, to please others by our ideal self. So in conclusion, we meet different people every day. We show them our false self. We can't or we choose not to show them our true self for many reasons. For me, as I met people every day, I cannot show them my true self. I am afraid that they will judge me without really knowing me. I honestly have trust issues, and for a fact, I don't want to let other people know me sometimes. I can only open myself and let them see my true self when I know that I can trust them. There is nothing wrong if I choose to let them see the false me. It is still up to me or you on how I can trust or not. The most important is that you have to be true to yourself. It's up to them if they will accept you or not, as long as you love yourself. So the last topic that I discussed, it's about the self as proactive and agentic. Next. So Albert Bandura, sorry guys if I don't include it in my PowerPoint. Um, Albert Bandura believed that humans have the ability to act and make things happen. So self as proactive. It is a controlling situation by making things happen or by preparing for possible future problems. And for example, a student studying for a fall semester class during their summer vacation. So it's acting in advance to deal with unexpected change or difficulty. So agency. Agency embodies the endowments, belief systems, self-regulatory capabilities, and distributed structures and functions through which personal influence exercise. It means taking responsibility for your life, which means I am responsible for my thoughts or your thoughts, feelings, and actions. Next. the four main features of human agency. The first one is intentionality. It refers to acts done intentionally. So we humans plan things intentionally, or we do things intentionally. With doing with doing this, we wait for possible outcomes. We make our plans, actions, and decisions with the basis of our intention in life. So we as humans are interested in different things. We make ourselves self-interest. We make ourselves interested in the things we do, therefore acting with our intentions. So for example, I saw an old woman who will across the street, but unfortunately she can't walk fast, and what I did was to help her, and my only intention is to cross her safe. So next, forethought. It enables the person to anticipate the likely consequences of prospective actions. So forethought, on the other hand, enables us to anticipate the consequences of the things we do. So we expect different expectations. Therefore, we likely think better before we do or make decisions in the future. For example, I will clean my room not just because to make it clean and comfortable, but to have a good ambience for me to study. So I'm thinking of a good consequence that should I do. Next, self-reactiveness. It involves making choices and choosing appropriate courses of action, as well as motivating and regulating them. So we make different choices, and we actually make choices after thinking about the consequences. So for example, I choose this course and I must do my obligations to study, pass, and learn from my subjects. I must be reactive towards the things and circumstances that might happen and will happen. Next. Next. And last one is self-reflectiveness. It gives the person the ability to reflect upon and the of his or her thoughts and actions. So it gives us the ability to reflect on our decisions, choices, and consequences. So for example, I didn't study our lesson in calculus 1 and I got a failing grade. So basically, I will reflect on what happened, and the best thing to do is to do better and never let your professor or a certain subject bring you down. So that would be all. Thank you for listening, and God bless.
Okay, thank you very much, Monique. At least the psychology group were able to present the very substantial but lengthy topic regarding the psychological perspective. Next meeting, class, I will just have a recap regarding what we have discussed today, because since we lack out of time, we just extended 15 minutes out of our time already. And I will just recap, and I hope the presenters can able to upload the presentation, Joby, your presentation. Anana, nakita na ako, Joby. Your presentation in our classwork so that I can share it to everyone para makapas, especially katong day karon. And I'm very happy that naapod ang everyone na natanan karon atong Google Meet. We are already 39. Rest assured that everyone was checked for the attendance already. Check na akong attendance sa tanan. And thank you very much for attending our synchronous session. I hope we'll just continue communicating in our GC, okay? So that we will be updated. So as with our Google Classroom, makikita ninyo dito ang mga classwork and activities and learning materials. So thank you very much for your cooperation and for preparing, for the presenters, for preparing your presentation for today. Rest assured, everything is recorded and everything will fall into the right place, okay? Just look into our Google Classroom and GC for updates, okay? So thank you very much, everyone, and keep safe and God bless always.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Bless you
Goodbye,
po.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, God bless.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.